Hello, guys. Welcome back to another election prediction. This time we have Senator Bernie Sanders of the state of Vermont versus Tulsi Gabbard, who has now pretty much swapped to the independent party registration, and I'm expecting her to become a Republican any moment. The real question is, will Tulsi Gabbard still have a lot of these left-wing views economically? I think it's possible she will, but I also think it's quite possible she just ditches them entirely in order to fit in with the Republican base more, which is what I'm kind of expecting. I mean, you look at her endorsements. She endorsed very far right candidates in Tudor Dixon in the state of Michigan. She also endorsed, I think, Don Bolduc in the state of New Hampshire. So, with her endorsement, she's endorsing very far right candidates for political offices. So, I'm not really sure how she's going to evolve her policies on just um, economic messages overall. I think she's going to become more conservative on economic issues mainly. So we'll just start off with this prediction with the state of Florida. Really don't think it'll be competitive against someone like Bernie Sanders, who called himself a democratic socialist, especially among Cuban voters. If they hear that socialist word, they're just voting against you no matter what. And Cuban voters are a key constituency in the state of Florida, so I just think it'll be a safe red state for Tulsi Gabbard. In the state of Texas, I just kind of just don't see how Bernie can make the state to the lean margin or even win it. I just think it'd be about a likely margin. Gabbard wins the state by about 8% because progressives really never do that well in the state of Texas anyway. In the state of Colorado, it's a very progressive state, so I see Bernie winning it easily by over 10%. New Mexico, see it going to Bernie by about 8%. Arizona, Nevada, I'll come back to, but Iowa and Ohio, I see her winning Iowa by over 10%. I do think she'll maybe still keep some of her populist policies, but I do think she's going to shift a lot more right economically. Ohio, I see her winning by about 7 or 8 points, kind of matching Trump's margin in 2020. But Bernie does have very good Rust Belt appeal, but I think Gabbard will still have some of her populist appeal still intact. So 7 points in Ohio seems about it. In New England, I see Maine going to Bernie by a likely margin. I also see New Hampshire going to him by a likely margin, but she'll win Maine second by a likely margin. So, let's head to the South. Virginia, I think, would be going to Bernie by about 6 points. He does have a Virginia problem. He doesn't get as good numbers as Biden did in Virginia, just based off the polls I've seen in 2020. Biden was always outperforming Bernie in this state specifically. In Georgia and North Carolina, I think these would both be about lean state. In North Carolina and Georgia, it is trending very Democratic, so I think she'll be slightly favored to win here, mainly because, again, she isn't as unpopular as Trump is in this state specifically. I think she would definitely do a lot better than Trump here, just with independent voters alone, just because they don't have that negative imprint like they do with Donald Trump in this state. In Arizona and Nevada, I still think Bernie would be favored to win the state of Nevada. Well, Arizona I could see going to Gabbard because they really don't like progressives a lot. Plus, she isn't Donald Trump, who has terrible approval numbers among independents in this state. So I think she'd be favored to win it. Okay. Nebraska second, still think she would be favored to win it, but Tulsi Gabbard would definitely give him a run for his money in this district, but I still think he would carry it. In Minnesota, I still think he would carry it by about 6 or 7 points, but the margins will be a bit lower than Biden's victory. In Michigan, I still think he'd be favored to win it. I think it's going to become a lot more Democratic than it was from 2020 to 2024. It's going to be a bit more Democratic. I think Bernie would carry by about 3 points. Pennsylvania as well, I think Bernie would win it by about 1.2%, but Gabbard, if she focuses on staying populist and not shifting too far on the right on economic issues, maybe she could win it, but I think still Bernie would be favored to win. While the state of Wisconsin, honestly, I could see her narrowly flipping it against Bernie because I think she'd still keep some of her populist issues here, which will be enough for her to narrow out a quite narrow victory against Bernie. Come down to the wire. Just take one state flipping either way for the election result to change. So that's my election prediction for Bernie versus Gabbard. Let me know what you think of this video in the comments below. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.